You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika. Our guest today is Jolie Phuong Hoang from Fonthill, Ontario, Canada. She is both the authors of Three Funerals for My Father and Anchorless, and a professor of mathematics at Niagara College. But most importantly, Jolie is a survivor. Growing up amidst war and government upheaval, escaping to find more obstacles and danger, and finally starting a new life in a new country takes a lot of strength and determination. The kind of determination it takes for a math professor to say, I'm going to write a book and do it. And the kind of strength it takes to reach into yourself, pull out an unhappy memory, hold it in your hand, and so that you, your children, and even the world can find more understanding. There are, however, rewards for that. That being that you can also pull out a happy memory of a loving and supportive family. And there are rewards and awards for writing as well. And Jolie has earned a few of those. She has earned first place in the North Street book prizes. She has Jolie smile. Smile. This is happy stuff. She has earned um, she has earned an honorable mention at the San Francisco Book Awards. She has won runner up at the New England Book Awards, and she has been a bronze medalist at the Wishing Shelf Awards in the UK. She has also been listed on CBC's 57 Nonfiction Books to Read, and she has been shortlisted for the Hamilton Literary Awards. And I couldn't be happier for her. Welcome to Fika, Jolie.
Hi, Vicky. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me on the show. Yeah,
Oh, of course. We're happy to have you here. We're feeling honored to have you here, Jolie.
thank you. Yeah, I'm honored too. I think the honor is all mine.
No. It's mine. It's mine. We could do this for an hour,
Yeah.
but instead we'll get to the questions. Jolie, when any writer sits down at a blank piece of paper, they they feel fear. They have their insecurities, their strengths, and perceived weaknesses. Can you share with us some of the things that you had to overcome, some of those fears that you might have had? For example, was it difficult to take all those years of training in facts with mathematics and have it wrap itself around the imagination and creativity that writing takes?
All right. Okay, that's a. Thank you for asking that. I have quite a few readers asking me if my training in mathematics helped me write. So, for me, I feel that I face difficulties in writing for sure because English is my second language. And I've been in Canada for 30 something, 7 years. And I've trained in mathematics, but not in writing. Um, but I know that the mathematics give me the discipline that I should try as hard as I can until I get the solution. So in but to me in writing, you write your words from your heart. So especially when you
But you
write
don't do
the
mathematics from your heart?
um I think I do. Mathematics has a lot more to do with the analysis and the thinking and the brain, but I'm talking about emotion here, right?
Yes.
So in mathematics, you compete. You really want to get the answer right or wrong, and there's emotion in it. But there's emotion that you can go in a specific direction. You either just don't do it and give up, or you try harder to get to the answer. So the emotion, I have to tell you that is straightforward to try mathematics. But in writing, I think it comes from your heart, especially in writing a memoir and something you hold so close to your heart. I think when you just let it flow, then it will come. And now with so much technology out there that I can learn. Writing in words to correct my grammars, correct my spelling,
Mhm.
and also there's a lot of supported on the side, and I have editors who help me with my sentences, and most of all encourage me to know that I can write in English. I can that I've heard that sentences all the time from my editor that Julie, be confident in your writing. Uh, uh, just trust yourself. You have she told me that I should explore it. So and the story, I think sentences, the thought, everything come from your emotion. And I know that if it's coming from the heart, it will flow, the sentence will flow on the paper. So every time that I got difficulties, I couldn't get the sentences correct, I usually close my eye and imagine myself um, that how do I write this? How do I put the sentences together? Sometimes you have to imagine as a picture, and you try to pieces like the color and everything together. So I think sometimes writing is natural too. It's natural. It comes from within. Um, and with a bit of discipline and training, I think you'll be able to overcome the difficulties. Yeah.
So you're saying if you want to write, just let it go. Just
Yes,
do
I
it.
think just do it because you have to. It's the journey of self discovery.
Right,
That's what I
right.
feel. So in learning mathematics, you train to do it and you follow the rules. But in writing, you need to look within yourself and find yourself. That's how I look at it. Yeah.
And just go wild.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm having a hard time picturing you go wild, Joey.
I think go wide with words. Go wide with yeah, I do go wide sometimes.
I want pictures. So, so, so you've gone a little more wild in your writing because you've told me that you have a new project coming up, and this time the project is fiction. So I'm excited about hearing about that project.
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question because the two books I wrote is memoir, nonfiction. So with nonfiction, I feel that I just create a style and you stay true to the style and you just write whatever is in your memories and coming from your emotion. So the style that you set for your nonfiction will guide you through the entire process. So, but with fiction, I realized that is this is the word I have to use wire because it's just like the characters in my head. So they grow with time and with my imagination. They started to grow. They build themselves, and when they are fully developed, they want to be out on the paper.
Right,
So I
right.
really have to write them out on the paper, or else I feel that my brain or my mind imprison the characters. So only words can free them, and then the narratives changes because of the changes that taken place in in my imagination. So it's not a fixed point for me to rely on. So um, I found writing fiction, uh, we have the flexibility, and we will let our imagination flow. So the book I'm writing is about four women. Uh, they are all bold people, how they escaped Vietnam, the circumstances of their lives in Vietnam, escaped Vietnam and came to the third country, came to Canada and US, and how they rebuild their life. And the four women, their life intertwined because uh, they are holding a secret, and eventually the secret is actually revealed.
Okay, don't reveal it now, or I
I
will.
have not revealed it now. So
No spoilers.
I can tell you that is if you in Three Funerals for My Fathers, I mentioned the
In that hospital
in chapter
scene.
20. Yeah, chapter
Yes,
20, the
yes.
inflection point in the voice of death. And
And
I would like to expand on that. Yes.
so those three women, you went imaginarily on a journey with them. Is that
Um,
what you're saying?
I yeah, because uh, yeah, it's more like that. I can
No, no,
because
that's good.
yeah,
That's good. I just want to know for me. The rest can figure it
like
out themselves.
I can use their lives as my in my book, but it's just for you to visualize the background of the story.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
no, no,
So yeah.
no, no. I hear what you're saying. You're not. But I think that's an ingenious idea, by the way, because I was quite taken by that scene. So,
Thank you. Thank
so,
you. Yeah. Yeah. So
um, yeah, I think it comes. It's there's a whole new atmosphere when you get to that
yes, because I have
place
to
in the
use
book.
the yes, like if you notice, I use the voice of death
Yes, yes,
because I know that if I use my voice, like whatever situation that I was in is nowhere near what they had been through. So if I
yes.
use the voice of death, I can be blunt about it because even death was horrified by the brutality of one human inflicted onto the other.
No, no, and that's where I want to get into that. I feel like that was the night that you truly, after everything you went through, that you truly lost your innocence, meant like um, your innocence towards life. I think that was really a crushing moment for you. That's how I read it. But before we get into that emotional stuff, we do have a question, and I think this is a question that you've talked to me about before. And it is from Brian, and he would like to know what attracted you to the field of mathematics? What made Jolie? And I think we've discussed that before ourselves.
Can I have a sip of tea before I answer that?
Yes. No, Jolie,
Okay,
there's no tea here. It's only
no tea
Fika.
here. Tea.
Yes. Tea is a
So,
part of Fika.
thank you, Brian, for asking the question. Um, uh, what attracted me to mathematics is my English as a second language. When I first arrived in Canada, I think it took me 3 years to learn Cantonese. And do you think in 3 years I could master the English? I don't think so. In 3 years, I don't think I mastered English completely.
Can I
And the
interject
subject,
just a second here? Because
yeah.
I'm blaming a certain grade 10 English teacher for that. Okay. I feel like his comments, it's in the book, people get the book and read it. I feel like his comments just took a little bit of sunshine from you and confidence. And that's all I'm going to say. Go ahead.
Um, so I remember that I need to do well. Like it's everything at that point which I have to do well to get into university, and I need to do well in university. So I think the subject that would let me do well in university take it would take me away from the writing essay and English part of it. Reading is, I think, mathematics, because I did well in 3 calculus courses that I took in grade 13. At that time, they had 3 grade 13. They have algebra, calculus, and finite. So 3 calculus courses, and and I think those grades are really high, like in the 90s. So I got in with the average from those 3 courses pulling me up. I believe that I even got a Stelco scholarship at that time, because your grade, your average was like over the 90%. Then mathematics was something that I feel that I could uh, do well. And honestly, I love mathematics. I love solving words problem. I train myself to work with mathematics, and once I train myself to do well in mathematics, I've learned to love it. So that's how I get into mathematics. And but the back of my mind, I wish I could learn literature. I wish I could learn and analyze the Bronte sister story. I wish I could get into an English course where I can analyze Wuthering Heights, like, and I wish I could get into art, art studio. Like, I, I learned mathematics, but I'm dreaming that on the side. So I was writing essay, I was writing paragraph and making poems on the side whenever I get bored doing mathematics.
And
Does that answer your question, Brian?
oh, I think it answers Brian's question. I
Yeah,
can speak
okay.
for Brian, okay? I
Yeah.
know him. So we're going to just hide Brian away again. Come again, Brian. Okay, so now we're going to get all these questions. Maria from Italy
Hi,
as
Amelia.
as asking, can you explain how the Euler's identity has a connection with the life of an escapee?
Okay.
Fearless effort and power would result in a zero for some escapees.
Okay. So Euler identity.
Oh, is
I
it Euler?
Euler. It's pronounced Euler. It.
Okay.
I honestly I love that theory. Okay, and plus I've learned about Euler as well. Um.
I need to
uh,
learn about Euler. What? Tell us,
Yeah.
Jolie.
So if
Explain
you
to
want
us
me
all.
to tell you about Euler, I can tell
Yeah.
you a little bit about Euler. Euler is a mathematician, and he's uh I can tell you that he at the end of his life he went blind. Okay, he went blind, but he during the time of his blindness he produced more mathematical paper than than anyone and any period in his life of working on mathematics. So when he present Euler identity and he proved the theory, he actually said this: uh, if I could prove this theory, God exists. So it's not that he proved God exists. He's a Christian himself. He's a Christian himself. He totally believed in God. But in the audience, there was another mathematician who kind of challenged his theory. So Euler wanted this mathematician to believe in God, and also after he he proved the theory. He said that therefore God exists. So I I would like to tell the audience that it's not that I'm telling Euler identity proven that God exists.
Okay. No,
Okay.
no, no. We get that. It's that
Yeah, we got that.
he
He
was
was saying
saying,
that.
if
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can prove this, God helped me, so he must
Yes,
exist.
yes, yeah. Thank you
It's
for
not.
spelling that out for me.
It's not
Uh,
that this is not a religious show. Okay.
yeah, okay. But it was
Jolie
amazing. Yeah,
is
it was
sharing the
yeah.
story.
Yeah, so it was amazing the way the numbers and all the factors in that added up to equal to zero. So sometime in life, I feel that we try everything, Some people they try the best they can, but in the end, what do they have? They end up dying, or they still don't have anything. So I think that apply very well to many refugee situation at that time. They risk their life on the boat, cross the ocean, survive all the danger through their journey. But when they came to the camp, they die at the camp. So when I saw that, I said all the effort had gone to nothing. So why do you die in such a strange land? Uh, right? Um,
No, it's sad. It's
so because Euler identity consists of a number e, a number e 2.7, and then it's raised to an exponent, and that number is pi. You know the number pi 3.14519,
mhm.
and then it add up to a complex number. They call it complex number. So I was playing around with that equation, and I use word for it. Like I translate that into word. Like it's a transcendental function. So transcendental to me is the non-physical realm, and is irrational number. The word irrational in English means something, right? So you make an irrational decision, and the risky uh, decision, and then all of that add up to just nothing. So I don't want to go into the mathematics here, but I just want to
Oh
tell
no.
everyone that I was playing. I translate the mathematics into poem, into words, so I can remember. So I remember transcendental, I remember irrational, I remember complex, because it's such a complex situation, and add one, and then everything becomes zero. So that's what I want to imply.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I hope I answer your question, Maria.
And Brian is back to say thank you for the detailed and personal answer you gave to his question.
Thank you.
And
You're
Maria says
welcome.
thank you so much. So you're just making everybody happy here today, Jolie.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's go back to they risked everything and they got zero.
Yes,
But the point is, was they were a lot of people felt that they had no choice, that
exactly.
you
Yeah.
couldn't be sure that you were going to stay alive or safe remaining. So it was like a one shot deal,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Irrational as it was.
Yes.
And we knock on wood that your journey was probably one of the safer ones. Your personal journey with your sisters and your brothers was probably one of the more favorable ones. I want to go back to, and we'll go back to our scripted questions, Jolie, but there was
Okay.
just something you said um, when when during Brian's answer where you said you had to find something that you could succeed in, and you had to find something that was practical because you were living in a townhouse with your brothers and sisters and you had to make it on your own. You said that the charity helped you with 1 month of funds, and then you were on your own. So how old would all of you have been at that time?
Mm, I was in my teen. My brothers, my older brothers also, yeah, we all were all in our teen except for my oldest brother and older sister. So
And they were only like 21, 22.
yes, yes, and I think okay, so yeah, they in their 20, and my oldest brother, uh, my older sister, and one of my older brother, three of them found job. So if they found job, if they worked, then they make enough to pay for the rent, the food, and everything, and put me and my older brother and my younger brother in school. So that's how we arrange it. So and then I work part time. Uh, older brother while in school also worked part-time, and my only the youngest brother he was too young. He we didn't want him to work. So then I worked part-time, my brother Fu worked part-time, and we had enough to and we saved up, and we had enough to live on. Yeah. And after a year, I actually worked 3 part-time jobs. To be very honest with you, I remember I worked 3 part-time jobs.
And went to school. And so
Yeah,
you guys had no choice but to be practical. And I mean, you had a choice, but it just amazes me that a group of young people like that just pulled it in and pulled it down and did it. And
yeah. We had a lot of encouragement from the group that sponsor us. Like I remember Mr. John Smith would visited the house and asked how we were doing. I went to Judy's and John Smith's house and babysat their children once in a while. And we also attended church because the group of the people who sponsor us, they went to church. And I think we have a lot of support from them. And they bring it clothes, they bring it hand-me-down clothes, box of food sometime, box of canned food. So we had a lot of support from the people who actually sponsor us.
so good people that helped
Yes,
out.
yes,
But
yeah,
also fantastic
yeah.
young
And
people that
the I knew
will
one
help
lady
you
gave
that.
me a part-time job working at the yarn store.
Yes, I like
Yeah,
her. I
yeah,
like her in
yeah.
the book.
Yes,
I like her in
yeah,
the book.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, so you did what you had to do, and that
yes,
was starting off with math, and then now living your dream, right?
yes.
I can't wait to see your art studio.
Oh, I tried my art because I think my daughters took all the arts. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Because Christy, my second daughter designed the cover, and
yes.
yes, and youngest daughter Charlotte designed the icon inside the book that appear in front of each chapter to distinguish the voice, and it was Charlotte's ideas to
Oh,
yeah,
so we have the tiger emblem here. We have a tiger emblem, and we have I didn't notice. And we
the
have
lotus, yeah,
that's a fantastic idea. That's a
yeah,
fantastic idea and a fantastic job. So when we're looking and so I can see that the tiger symbolizes your father because he had the spirit of the tiger
yes.
and he met a tiger. And so that brings us all the way around to when we discussed Anchorless, we discussed some of the symbolism that you used in that book, like the faded
Mm,
picture of your father at the front, or the um, the Anchorless, the title itself has
mm,
symbolism for you.
mm.
Did you use symbolism in in Three Funerals for My Fathers? I mean, we
Yeah.
know that you did with the emblems that your daughter did, but what else could we be looking forward to in there?
Um, uh, I think symbolism in literature implies certain thing when we talk about it. So I hope I use the right word or the right definition for it. But when I talk about food, when food became rare under the after 1975, there are certain periods where food was really rare,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to describe that in with the title "The Rice Chest."
Right,
And,
right.
it- and it was true. It was true. Yes, in the
I
house,
can't
but
believe that you guys all hid in there. Like,
yeah, we use it to play hide and seek instead of it's filled with rice or produce for us. And I also want to talk about we losing electricity electricity was like a luxury at that time, and I want to use the symbol of the oil lamp. And then I remember my dad often look at the oil lamp, and then sometimes we have to blow out the oil lamp just to whenever he like we blew out. I want to mention that it's we just have to accept the life that we have, and you know like uh, at the end of the day we blow out the light instead of turn off the light, and is that our life like the around that time we have no future.
Well,
So
you had no power. It didn't. The average person, like your family, people living there, just sort of had to go with the wind of what was going on without you. You went from, having medications, your mother a nurse, owning a pharmacy like that, to her not even being able to get Tylenol for your sister when she had smallpox. And the reason you were blowing out the lamp was because electricity became so rationed that you might only get it a couple times a week, right?
yeah. And another symbol I would like to mention is the Triton shell. So
Right, right. So
yeah, the shell that my father got for me from his trip. Like I love that. I often hold on to it and until the like my toy, and I often hold on to it until I analyze it. I put it into my ears. I try to hear the sound of the ocean until I analyze it when I was at the camp, and even here in Canada. Like the only time that I have that beautiful shell to hold in my hand is when the creature inside it had to die and and went somewhere, right? So when I hear the sound, I just feel like it's an empty shell, but it leaves a sound behind, right? It leaves the sound, the ocean behind. So to
and
me, it's more like silent suffering.
and it is. And can you also compare that to hearing your father after he was
Mm,
gone?
no, I never did. I because my father died, and he got buried on land,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I don't think I never thought my father is could never be an empty shell
No, no,
because
no,
he's a
no, no,
spirit.
no.
He's living, and even after death, he's still there for me. So for me, like an empty shell, I can tell you that it's a silent suffering. Like you can live, but inside you there's hollow. It's nothing, because you just have to move on with life without even feeling anything. So that's what I think about the shell, the Triton shell. Okay.
Now, when we
That's
talk about no, 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 I think that's very, for lack of a word, it's profound that people were as shells. There was nothing to look forward to. You didn't know what tomorrow would bring. You just existed in that moment, right?
yeah. Mm.
Now, looking for my own symbolism, I'm going to bring this into add a little laughter, maybe. Jolie, you mentioned that green Jeep Cherokee
Oh,
a
okay,
lot.
okay.
And so I sort of saw it as a symbol of movement because it carried you, to the monastery from the war zone. It just seemed whenever you were in trouble and you needed to go someplace, that Jeep Cherokee was there. It
Yeah.
represented a sense of safety and security and everything that a Jeep commercial would want you to say.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to ask, have you in your new life in Canada ever gotten a Jeep? Have you ever gone with a Jeep?
I actually, when I first got my driver license and looking at the car to buy, I
Mhm.
really wanted to. I had my eye on the Jeep Cherokee.
I
Believe me,
knew
I try a few. I try a few.
it.
I test drove a few of them, but I was picky because I told them I wanted the green color. Yeah, if it's
Yeah,
the
it was sort of
green
like
Jeep Cherokee, I definitely would get the Jeep. But they didn't make the green Jeep at that time. It was the colors either black, red, or anything else. And also, the Jeep Cherokee that my father owned is made in
Right.
the 70s. So
Okay.
when I got my 60, it's even in the 60 or 70. So when I try those Jeep, is they make a different model. They are
Right. Right.
more modern. So uh, and in the end, to be very honest with you, I settled for another style of a cheaper one, and it's smaller, it's more practical uh, for myself at that time, and the price is actually was right for myself. And the Jeep Cherokee at that time, it was a bit expensive. I remember that, but I'm still open to option. So if if there's a Jeep Cherokee out there and it's green, I will eventually will get it. I still have that in my mind that I
Uh,
will own a Jeep.
I'm
Yeah.
glad because I just saw it as the knight in shining armor in your book. Like it was like something would happen and then it was like da 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 da. There's the Jeep,
Yes.
Jeep
Yes.
Cherokee.
Yeah.
So I would be very I would like you to get a green Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah.
Jolie, should it ever happen and arise,
Yeah.
it would be fantastic.
Have you seen a green one out
I
there?
haven't. I haven't.
Yeah. You see,
We
it's
had a
rare.
white
Yeah.
one at one point. Was it
Yeah.
like a khaki green, like an army green, or was it more like a forest green?
I think it's teal. It's like the color of the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
teal. Yeah.
It's a teal. So
Yes. Yes.
I
Yeah.
think it's great that the book has the same color as the Jeep
Yes. Yeah.
Cherokee.
So and then I never intended it. It was my it's Christie who designed the cover and chose this special teal color. Yeah.
So, well,
Mhm.
congrats, Christy, because it's a
Thank you.
very beautiful book. Let me get it
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
straight. Okay, so, and I said I wasn't going to say so this broadcast, but I just said so. Going back, and we were talking about some of that night in the clinic, the hospital, at the refugee camp. Other things that you have seen. Now, I find you to be a very gracious writer, Jolie. Like you just sort of state what's happened, and don't get into a lot of emotion and that about it. This is what happened to us. But in that scene and in some of the others, just a little bit more, I have found that your voice became bolder. You weren't perhaps quite as understanding of some things. For example, I know when we talked earlier, and the people, you just said that the people at the oil rig, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
stopped to try to get off,
Mm-hmm.
the people at the oil rig were like, they gave you foods and cans and made them sound quite nice. But on this one, it was sort of like, no, you don't need help. We'll give you some food, move on, right? So your
Mm-hmm.
voice is a little bolder. Now, do you think that's because you're using your own voice in this book? Because you've gained more confidence with the um, the praise that you have earned, or do you think it's simply because it isn't, as the book grows, so do you? You grow into an adolescent and you're not seeing things as innocently as you did as a child.
Okay. That's a good question.
Thank
Like I
you.
mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, is I think I got the professor of math back inside me now. I'm sorry, it's the occupational hazard. Because when the student asked me a question, I like the question. I said, "Oh, it's a very good question," because I know it's an encourage them to
Yes,
ask
no,
a
I need,
question.
I,
I'm sorry if
no,
I
no,
yeah
I was being honest. I need
I
encouragement, Jolie.
okay
Encourage me whenever you like.
yeah. So okay, so it showed that I grow as a writer. Like I definitely agree with that. But I can tell you that at the very beginning, I mentioned that to me, when I write nonfiction and memoir, at the very beginning, when I set out writing, I said I want to set out a style. and I stick to that. I strictly stick to that writing style. So nonfiction can be very political. It can be very political, a lot of analysis. But I base this three funerals on my father, based on Anchorless. So it, like we talked about Anchorless before. So I create Anchorless as a. I wanted to people to read the book as a. It is the voice of a ghost, right?
Right.
Pondering his death and his life, and still want to lingering around the livings, his children. But then, how can we hear his voice? So I wanted to be like a whisper, a uh, a regret, and full of sorrow, because that's exactly what happened.
Good. Yes. Yes.
And when I move on to three funerals for my fathers, I have to look at my emotion. Okay, my emotion at certain periods, and I need to stay true. Like, remember, we need to set aside, we stay true to what we want to write at certain periods. So certain period of my life, that exactly what I saw, so I wrote it. And
Yeah.
how
No,
I
that's what.
felt at that time, so that is how I felt at that time. And when I experience more at the camp, so this is exactly what I saw. So and then I yeah, like you said, I'm bored by using the voice of death, but I have to choose another voice in order to express that. And it's not that the praise that I receive in Anchorless or receive in my writing, that I feel that I'm bolder in my writing. I don't think so, because to me, writing Anchorless and writing three funerals for my fathers is still my responsibilities. That I need to reserve a piece of history so that my daughters, and to give them an answer that they always wanted to ask me, to give my nieces, my nephew, uh, the answer to the question, so they know about their roots. They know that their parents are both Vietnamese, both people, and they knew that their parents had to escape Vietnam, went through a lot to be able to establish a life in America and in Canada. So to me, the responsibilities, and I have to look at how my father talked to me, because I created their voice, right? So I have to as a parent, I put myself in their situation, and I create a voice from there. So my father was not a political person. He's very neutral and he's very positive. And my mother was also not a political person. Uh, she expressed herself gently, and my father expressed himself gently too. So I think all of that's applied to all my writings. Um, I hope I can be bolder in then my next one. I can,
Oh.
like you said, like I was
I'm
thinking about that too. I was thinking about that too. Like
I'm
some
just loving
scenes,
the
certain.
journey. I'm loving this journey in your stories, as well as the journey of you writing the stories, like, and watching this develop over the time. But no, I think that what you wrote is so telling in the fact that it didn't matter. It's not about politics. It didn't matter who was
Yes,
out there.
exactly. Yeah.
Your lives didn't, I mean, regardless of side, both sides, there was, your father was imprisoned unjustly. There was starvation. There were mines left where children played. There, to your personal lives, it didn't seem to matter the politics. What mattered is that is what you were living. So
Yes,
I
that
think,
how we stick together and as a family, and we get through all of those.
yes, that is
I like
described
sometimes in a
strength.
natural way, in such a way that we put the unity, the love of for each other in the family above everything else, and we get through all that.
And the
I think
sacrifices
yes,
that
yeah,
that
yeah,
included, the sacrifices that included, yeah, I mean, that is very obvious and very. I just love you guys. I just
Thank
read
you.
this book, and I'm just like, yes, she finally said what happened to everybody individually. Because if you hadn't, I would have called you up, would have messaged you and said, Jolie, I need to
Yeah.
know what
You have
happened
to
to
think. You have to
everyone.
thank the editor. You have to thank the editor who edited my book. It was Lynn Duncan, the director of Tidewater Press, and she told me that, Julie, you need to write a chapter about all your brothers and your sister. But we had to put it in the way that there's so many of you. We have to put it in a way that I don't want it like a groceries list or something, to use that word. And
I would have accepted a grocery list. I just want to know. So,
yeah,
thank you, Jolie's editor, for encouraging her to do that, because I would have been like, oh, I need to know. I need to know. I just want to put up here that Susan says, thanks for the insights,
you're welcome. Thank
Jolie.
you so much. Yeah.
Um, there I went with an I'm trying, Jolie. I'm trying. But we talked about your family, and we talked about your daughters and your nieces and nephews so that they could understand. And I remember when we spoke before about Anchorless, you said one of the reasons you wrote it was so that it would be easier for you to talk to your children about that. Did it make it easier?
I
Was
I don't think it's now. It's not even the topic anymore, because they could read whatever I've written.
right. So
But
they didn't
whatever,
have to talk after
yeah, we
that.
don't have to talk about that. But whatever we are talking right now is about writing style. It's about the process of writing. I'm glad I can connect with my student in that sense, like how we improve our writing, and what writings brings us to a different level. Because to me, you, no one could never fully heal from the loss of the loved one.
No, no.
I think it's only from what we process it, how we deal with our grief, and what we learn from it, and whether tragedy destroys us, or whether we coming out to the other side and learn a
And you
lesson
came
from
out,
it.
baby.
Yeah,
You came out the other side.
yeah. Thank
So
you. Yeah.
glad. Such an example and inspiration and all of that stuff. You got all of that stuff.
Thank you, Vicky. You always have good words for me.
Oh, you're
I
easy to
I
have words for.
I appreciate very much. I'm very flattered. I'm very flattered.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No,
Um,
I look at your situation and think, wow. I look at your family and kids of that age. I'm going to call you kids. You probably would have hated that at the time, but you're calling your kids, right? No matter how
yeah,
old they're getting.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, the group of kids that just did that and did what was practical and put, other things aside is just. Not only that, I have to say one scene. I want everyone to buy this book, not listen to what we're saying. But there's a scene where you're waiting, which brings me to another question, where you're waiting for the gentleman who was supposed to be leading you to your father's boat to come back. And I just imagine this group of teenagers, young people standing on that tree, not knowing if he was going to come back and if they were going to stay alive. And Jolie, that alone, regardless of everything else, is enough for you to have survived. Okay, and honestly, people, it's wherever you can find books online, get a copy of Three Funerals and For My Father, because it will bring an understanding to you of what people actually went through, that you wouldn't have in any other way. Okay, we are running down to 10 minutes. So I want to get the most important stuff out there, Jolie. So I'm going to ask you. I have that song that I would like you to recite the lyrics to. Or we can discuss more about the fact that you were left by that tree, that people would scam people and report them, and just all kinds of things were going on at the time. But do you want to recite the song, because that was very.
Mm, yeah, I will read part. I will read
Yes,
the
recite it. I'm not going. Okay,
but
Jolie
to
will
sing
not
I
play
think
her guitar or sing. I've
yeah
tried it
I
before. It's not going to happen. But yes, I said recite. And
yeah
was this one of the songs that you wrote, or one that you already knew with your sister?
we kind of make up song. We make up song and then we so this is one of the things that we make up. One of the song that we actually
Okay,
make
so
up.
you were
Yeah,
actually writing in your youth, because
yeah. So
songwriting is writing. So
and because my sister whenever I taught her a song, she was very creative. She would sing it differently, you know, and then I didn't want to say, oh no, you have to sing it like this. So in the end, we ended up just make up whatever she likes to sing. So she would. I think it's more of my younger sister. Like she likes to sing the way she wanted to be sang. Yeah,
so
and then we act our plays. We play with each other. We read the story. We read a story, and then we make up a song from it. And uh, I believe that we actually. I read her a story about a sacrifice of a mother to save her child, and then we kind of make up this song. Yeah. So do you want me to
yes, I would like you
recite
to
re,
recite
the
the words.
the words of the both English and Vietnamese?
I think it would be beautiful to hear it in
Yeah. So
Vietnamese as well.
I just read the poem, right? The poem
Yes,
right
yeah, no
here,
singing involved,
and
Jolie.
then
Just read it.
do you want me to read the paragraph before that, or just the two of them?
Whatever you like.
Mm,
What do you
mm.
want to do?
Okay. I think I just I will read the poem. I call it a poem because we make up a poem, and then I will read the A verse poem in Vietnamese. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. How about I read a paragraph just before that as well? Okay, just
Okay,
to
Jolie,
lead
whatever
into
you.
it. Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay. Let me do this. I rely so much on tea.
It's a good
That's
thing.
one of my weakness. Yeah. Thank you, Vicky. Yeah. Almost every evening, I played the guitar while Lang Fung sang. Sometimes she sang songs I taught her, but we especially enjoy making up our own. One of our favorites was When the Last Leaf Falls. On a cold and rainy night, Death comes to a poor, wrecked house and knocks on the doors, ready to collect the soul of a young girl dying of an incurable illness. But is touched by the mother's anguish, and pointing to the three leaves on an old tree, promises to return when the final leaf falls. We added music and performed the song of for father. When the last leaf falls, raindrops or teardrops for forlorn tree or wrecked soul. Raindrops fall upon the leaves, one by one. Each leaf drips down. The last raindrops falls on the last leaf, the last to flow to the ground. As the field winds hounds, death comes again to collect the tiny soul. The bereft mother sheds her last tear. I remember every single word, father. Lang Feng was proud of her memorizing skill. Do you want to hear us sing again? Yes, I love hearing my daughter sing, but this sad song. Father hesitated. While Lang Fu sang, I could tell father wanted to ask me if I had taught her anything more cheerful. He finally found an opportunity to ask me about it when he took me to the tailor for a shirt. While waiting for my turn to be measured, Father said, Julie, tell me more about that song that Lan Phương sang when the last leaf falls. I recited the verses in Vietnamese. Hạt mưa rơi hay giọt lệ rơi, mưa rơi trên cây tàn úa, có phải trời đang khóc thương cho những linh hồn khổ hạnh? Khi chiếc lá cuối cùng rơi là khi thần chết lại đến, là giọt lệ cuối cùng đọng trên đôi mắt mẹ. Father's voice was sad as he asked, why do you use the words fallen trees? Because a storm will bring the old tree down. Are you comparing raindrops to the tears of heaven? Yes, Father. I wanted to express that heaven cries when human has no tear left. The guitar chords are easy too. I just switched between chords D, B minor, A7, G, and E minor. The last sentence hints that when death arrives, death also collected the mother's soul. Yes, Father, she shed her last tears. She never cried again because she died.
And that was beautiful and very foreshadowing in the book. So thank you for reading that, Jolie.
Thank you.
I know
Yeah.
it might have been a hard thing to do, but it was a beautiful
Yeah.
thing to do.
I actually loved reading in Vietnamese. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to recite this in Vietnamese in my own language.
Oh, it's beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
I love to hear, and yeah, I love to hear it. And it is very hard to um it is very, with all the accents in that, it's very simple, but it's with all the accents in that, it's very hard to like, it's the translation of, say, that, I'm going to call it a poem. Is it very difficult to make from Vietnamese
I
to
actually
English?
wrote it in Vietnamese. I wrote it in
Yeah, but
Vietnamese.
I mean,
And then
back
I
to English.
translated into English here,
Does
right?
it have the same feeling in English that it did to Vietnamese, in Vietnamese to you? Is it?
No. I
No,
think
no.
in Vietnamese it's more poetic. To me, it's more poetic in Vietnamese.
Yes, and
Yeah, and I love if any Vietnamese person out there listen to this. I think they will understand that. Yeah.
yes. So listen, report back to her on her Facebook page. Or
Yeah.
whatever. She would love to hear from you. Authors always love to hear from people. Okay, I'm going to have one more question here. Brian has asked, and then we'll As a writer, I'm always fascinated by the tools writers use to create their books. Also, different tools, example, writing by hand versus word processor, seems to affect how we write. What tools do you use, Jolie?
Mm,
Do you like to write by hand, or do you prefer to use the computer?
oh, actually, I wrote a lot in my notebooks first. Like I have a lot of notebooks. I can show you.
Yeah.
This is the notebook for my next book. So I did in writing because honestly, when you actually write it by hand, you are more free. You are
Okay.
more free.
Brian
Like
would
it's
agree
yes,
with you on
especially
that.
with me. Like I can write, but I don't want to be interfered by words or telling me that spelling here, grammars here. Like it is we have to let ourselves free with the
Word
words.
is
So
so bossy.
yeah, and also I when I have them already, I type them in Word, and I then words help me correct a few things. So I think words is just the best processing word processing tool.
Like
I hope I
I
answered the question.
no,
Yeah.
even for the show,
Mm.
I don't type it out, and I don't. It goes into full writing, because then I can think how I speak more. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not so
Yeah.
worried about the mistakes. So,
Yeah. I
okay.
also got a little notebook. Like I can show you this the little
Oh,
notebook.
that is very little.
Yeah, it's very little because you can just put it right inside your pocket, and then
And
I fill them up quite a lot. So I have sorry, I turn I have quite a few here. This is for yeah, this is
because you have
like here.
ideas.
Yeah, so lots of those. even just I've learned a word, and I just learned like some word, and I wrote it in here right away, like the meaning of the words and all that, and I did use a bigger one too. Like I kept them all. I kept them all for my
And
yeah.
she's kept them all, people. And someday
Yeah, you have to keep them.
there will be a
You have to keep
museum
them.
to Jolie, and they will be as exhibit, like,
Thank you. I'm flattered. I think that's a lot,
Museum of Honor
Vicky.
Montgomery.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
dream big for you, Jolie. I dream big.
So
And
is that Brian did the same thing?
Brian, I have little notebooks like those too. Of course,
Okay.
Brian
Thank
is
you.
he's in my writing group, and
Mm,
he will be joining us in a month or so. And he has, yes, he writes first, and then tries to find an organized way to put them in. I think he's just taking a whole bunch of stuff and putting it into Notepad right now. But I'm answering for Brian. He'll yell at me later today for the meeting. But he likes to write out too, and then proceed to take it too. So it's a similar thing. Neil Gaiman apparently writes his entire novels that way by hand. So, good company all around. It's a thing, Jolie. It's a thing.
yeah.
um, you use Scribner. Okay. All right. We're going to. Okay, Brian. I will talk to you later. We're going to have to say goodbye, Jolie. And I told you
Mm,
it would go so quickly, but you are always invited back for Fika. And now
thank
we've
you.
worked things out.
Yeah.
And yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending, for taking your time and spending the time with me and Vicky. I appreciate it. And thank you, Vicky, for all your kind words, all your,
My
the
true
nice thing that
words.
you. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll say goodbye. Oh,
Yes.
I'll say goodbye now, and we'll check in back with each other in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And bye. Um, that was a wonderful conversation with Jolie. Next week on Fika, we will have Sarah Archer. She is a novelist, uh, an author, uh, a just a second. She is a novelist, an author, a screenwriter, a poet, a blogger. She has her own podcast. She does workshops on different aspects of writing and screenwriting. And we are going to fit that all in an hour because we're a daring lot at Fika. So thank you for listening, everyone. And until next time, may your coffee be hot and your story sweet.